So, this is a response to a channel called Negative Airsoft. He made a video about how AOE correction is stupid, useless and not worth the time. He mentioned in the description of his video that he doesn't care what anyone else thinks. I tried to make a comment about what I think, but looks like that he has set the settings so that the comments aren't public. So anyone else but him won't see them. So fuck it, let's make a video then. So I want to say at first that the things he say are about things he thinks is the correct way, and things he has been doing and keeps on doing because he thinks he's right. But well, all I want to say is AOE correcting isn't useless. It is really useful fix because it makes the gun more reliable, makes the piston last way longer, makes the shell last longer. Well, depending on if you do it with sorbo. Seen here, this is a random stock plastic cylinder head taken from somewhere. So sorbo is this soft thing in here that pushes the piston a bit backwards. Here I don't have a sorbo, and I'll show you the difference. The thing is that now, let's put that in there, this, and you can see the piston and the sector aren't having a good grip. The sector, the teeth line goes like about this, where the piston is like this. This causes that the sector wants to naturally push the piston a bit upwards and bit backwards. It really pulls it, as you can see, but you can also see that it is grinding from the beginning. Grind, and only now it has a proper contact, and then it goes. Yeah, it works, but it isn't nowhere near optimal. The force is concentrated in this way, and it puts some stress here where the rack meets the piston. The stress that shouldn't be in there, that is totally useless stress. Whereas here we have the cylinder head with sorbo. It pushes the piston backwards, so the contact begins from here, where the contact is way better, and the gear, as it keeps on moving this way and pulls the force straight backwards, like so. Because now the piston teeth and sector teeth, they are aligned, they have a 100% contact, they aren't grinding, it is just pushing it backwards, straight backwards, instead of back and up. Seen here, it tries to go up and back. If the AOE was good, it would just go back. It wouldn't grind against the teeth or tooth here, because the contact isn't good. It grinds and then it starts to go backwards. The contact isn't no way near as good with sorbo. The thing sorbo does, it is soft and well, as in spaces, but also makes the shell last longer because the piston goes back like this and then releases and comes forward again. The piston head mashes against cylinder head. The sorbo, it absorbs the impact, and well, you know, shell is clamped together and the cylinder head is fixed against the gearbox shell. So when there's servo absorbing the impact doesn't hit the gearbox shell as hard. So it makes the GP last way longer than without servo. One thing to add the longevity of the gearbox is also to radius the corners. This is a random shell that I found from my box, so I won't be using this shell like ever, so I haven't radiused it because this is going to trash. That's one thing. Also, he asked on the video, why don't the manufacturers then correct the AOE if it really is that necessary? Well, thing is that it costs money, it costs time, and well, manufacturers have done some things forever. And one thing is also that the manufacturer, they might just order the internals from somewhere. A customer wants, for example, HK416. The company clones a existing one. For example, they take VFC, make their one look the same and so on, and then they contact for example GTI and say, hey, we want V2 gearbox, make us one complete set and send it here. We need like 1,000 of them. And they don't know the mechanics, they don't know the reason behind many things in gearbox. They just order it from a company that has been delivering parts for ages. Simple. They don't want to improve anything. Many of the manufacturers have been starting to add sorbo and many new things. For example, Specnar's Edge series, their stock AOE, it's pretty much perfect. The externals are made by Ditek and the internals by GTI, but Specna has wanted to make sure that their guns will last some time, so they have insisted to have a sorbo, so the AOE will be good. Simple. And one thing about AOE. Here I have a Sima 15-8 piston. That is a really strong piston. I personally use this because the rack is strong, the body is strong, but some people still use piston with plastic teeth. So this is a fake SHS1, so the rack is quite soft, so it was easy to demonstrate with this. As you can see here, here's the tracking. Let's turn the light upwards so you can see. Here you can see what the sector did to gear, because the contact isn't perfect. It starts by tracking against the gear, grinding and all that. A tiny singular point of the gear takes all this tiny singular point of gear and piston teeth. They contact and then they start to grind against each other. So that's why the piston pickup tooth looks like this. As you can see, it has a deep groove. With a proper AOE, the contact would be way better. The force, it would spread way larger area, and thus the piston wouldn't die as fast. This is mainly a problem with plastic teeth one, but well, cheap SHS pistons, this will break its body and everything, so this isn't usable. Pro tip, don't buy cheap SHS stuff off eBay, that is too cheap. Those pistons were like under 5 euros a piece, they all were fake. Don't do same mistake as I did. Check the seller and make sure you get the correct ones. And also, Negative Airsoft mentioned mushroom piston heads. So let's see if I have one in my parts box. Here is one. And I might have a... yeah, I have one. So here's the cylinder head matching it. He mentioned to use these. Well, I'm saying that don't do it. The nipple on this piston head, it's soft, it can move a bit around. These piston heads are bad anyway, because these are bad plastic. I haven't found a singular one that would be good. And the contact when these meet is all over the nipple, not on the center. So the force concentrates into a small area, thus making these break way faster than a proper POM or aluminium piston head. And these aren't worth it. These are also more inconsistent because of the side nipple movement. And these just aren't worth the money. My recommendation is to use a good proper aluminium cylinder head like GGI. So these are good, just add a sorbo to it, it'll be fine for ages. And use a normal good POM piston head, for example Lonex, SLD if you're in Europe, AK2M4 sells them in UK, or just a basic aluminium piston head. The problem people have had with breaking gearbox shells using aluminium piston head is that aluminium doesn't absorb shock. So if one uses sorbo and reduces the GP shell, aluminium piston heads are more than fine, because the radiation, it spreads the contact or the impact way larger area. As you can see here, there's a sharp corner. Actually, I'll reduce this shell really fast. Okay, that's really fast. I should do it properly. But as you can see now, it's a round one, so the impact spreads into a larger area and there isn't a sharp point of impact. So the shell lasts now way longer, and with sorbo it absorbs some of the shock. So that's a big difference. Aluminum piston heads are fine with radiation and sorbo. Keep that in mind. Or with warm shell. And well, one more argument against the why don't manufacturers use sorbo. I guess everyone has heard of a MOSFET. It is a singular electrical component. Just like this. This is a Chevron MOSFET too. So the thing is that you solder it in, there goes one and two signal wires. Those signal wires go into trigger contacts, and any current basically isn't going through the signal wires, and the signal wires just give a signal to MOSFET that the current may go through. So it comes from battery, goes through the MOSFET, goes through the main wire straight to the motor. So no more arcing on the trigger contacts, which is a big thing. So first consumers, airsofters, techs that were into making guns better, they made their own 34 based MOSFETs like a decade ago, and only lately manufacturers have started to use those in their guns, like Crytek, BFC, Spec Norms, and many others. Those are mainly getting into here. I don't think those would have been done without techs being in here and starting to use them first. Because manufacturers, like I said, they don't invent stuff. They order and design stuff. but they don't really go deep into mechanics to make it last. That's one thing. So sometimes people has to do the things first for the manufacturers to understand the idea behind them. So I'm thinking that many manufacturers will in near future have the AOE corrected, because it's pretty vital part to do and it is easy thing to do. It doesn't take hours to do, it's like 5 minutes. Cut the sorbo, make a hole on it, grind a bit for the glue to grab in better, glue in, let it sit, add a protection layer, that's it. 10 to 15 minutes in total. So it isn't a big thing. And that will happen in the future soon. And the negative airsoft guy, he said that, well, maybe it's okay in the DSGs or high power DMRs to correct the AOE. Low power guns, no point for it. That's totally wrong. Because, well, the higher we go in spring strength, the higher the load will be. And the higher the stress will be at the beginning. So with a low spring, it is just easy to go there and complete the cycle. But when the spring is stronger, the load is bigger and the stress is bigger at the beginning, so the gear will just grind even more. So, well, like I said, it takes like 10 minutes to fix the AOE. It's a really small thing to do, but it has a great effect on the gearbox. So I suggest doing it every time, on every gearbox, on every gun you own. It isn't a big thing, but it has a major effect in the long run. So check your sources, don't listen to guys making weird arguments because this is useless, because this and because manufacturers don't do that. Manufacturers, they don't invent stuff, they just buy stuff. I don't think there's like any company that 100% OEMs everything in the house. Most of the parts come from suppliers. And the suppliers supply what customer wants. If customer wants a gearbox shell, they provide a gearbox shell. If the customer wants a whole gearbox, they provide a whole gearbox. And if the customer doesn't dig into mechanics, the supplier, they won't start to do stuff on their own. If the customer orders a gearbox with MOSFET, they provide a gearbox with MOSFET, because that's what the customer wanted. It's all about customer. Many brands just keep on going and making stuff their way because they don't dig into said mechanics. They don't check why things break and so on. They keep on making stuff. For example, well, they don't invent stuff. Marui has been basically the only one at first inventing this stuff and making it to work, and others are just cloning Marui. Because Marui didn't at first make sorbos, other manufacturers were like, well, why would anyone do this? They didn't even think of putting sorbo in there because Marui didn't have one. And well, Marui, they can sell spare parts because, well, that's profit for them. And Maruis are so low stress that basically the sorbo isn't 100% necessary, because there are many other parts breaking too. So yeah, check your sources and AOE correct your guns. Thank you.